Welcome back to Hempfield Happenings June edition.
My name is Vince Wazowski.
And I'm Morgan Wilfong.
This month, Morgan and I are your hosts. When this episode was produced, we were in Communication 7, otherwise known as Independent Studies. With the help of other Comtech 7 students, we have put together another fantastic news magazine for you.
So sit back and relax.
Now, it's time for Hempfield Happenings.
Earth Day draws attention to the beautiful planet we live on. McGuire Eunice dug into the soil surrounding Earth Day and its activities.
Earth Day, an annual event held on April 22nd to demonstrate support for environmental protection, includes a wide range of events coordinated globally, which connects over 1 billion people in more than 193 countries. But how does Lancaster County connect to this event? Lancaster Conservancy is a local organization that restores natural lands for future generations. The Conservancy has saved over 10,000 acres across 50 local properties to protect the ecosystems and landscapes. Keith Williams, a staff member of Lancaster Conservancy, speaks more on their mission.
Well, the Conservancy is to protect land. I mean, that's the mission of our organization. So we protect land for our community use, forever. So we keep it from being developed, and then we open it for public use in terms of hiking and bird watching, fishing, things like that. Land protection is a huge part of what we need to do to protect our ecology and to protect the environment. And so the mission of the Conservancy, while it's really focused on land protection, goes a long way to creating a sustainable community and a sustainable environment.
Keith is always surrounded by nature, with his office being at one of the local preserves.
At about 3 miles of trail here at Climbers Run, we've got a trout stream, we've got a pond to fish in, all catch and release.
Keith believes strongly in educating the public on environmental topics.
It's important because we need more people to understand the importance of taking care of the planet. I mean, we need action. Certainly awareness campaigns and awareness events are important, but we got to follow that up with action. Otherwise, it's just talk. And so we really need people to put, the action behind the speak. We're working for everybody in the community. It sounds like we do a lot of work for ecology, and that's true, but that ecology leads to a really increased quality of life for our human community, and so that's what we're doing our work for.
Another local company that works for the community is Sod Metal Recycling. Alex Vasquez is the operations manager, and he goes into detail on what they do.
Pretty much everything that comes in here, it's a lot of metal ends up at the the landfill with all the trash. None of this metal is going to the landfill. It's going all to get repurposed. Like all these cans will get sold to a mill. They'll melt it down and make new cans with it. So it kind of shows a full circle of everything. Yeah, so we have about 85 to 90% of our business is the industrial side. We also have a retail operation, so anyone off the street can bring in, if they have a broken washing machine, lawnmower, if they have copper pipe from their job, their boss let them keep, anything like that. So we get the metal in, we process it, and then we sell it. Person who makes the scrap, so if it's a fab shop or whatever job they had to do, they got scrap metal, bring it to us, we process it down to get really to it's usually a melting pot or something that the end user uses it to put it back into the system, recycle it.
They also held their annual Earth Day celebration.
We did 2 tours around the yard, and we showed people what we do, how we do it, why it's important to recycle and keep the earth green. We also had some contests with some prize giveaways for the community. Earth Day is very important because the earth is where we live and it's all we have, and it's the future, and we need to keep it very, very organized and clean for the future.
Whether it's going outside to pick up litter, not letting your car idle, or any of the other thousands of ways to cut back on pollution, always remember we only have one Earth. Standing here in a local stream bed in Lancaster County, I'm McGuire Eunice for Hempfield Happenings.
The same building where this video was produced hasn't always been the way we see it now. Lizzie Pegg looked at the renovations that have occurred to Hempfield High School.
Whether this is your first year, your last, or somewhere in between, you've probably walked through this building at least 100 times. But have you ever wondered what these walls used to look like, or what changes our school has gone through within the past few decades? Welcome to the last episode of my segment, Reading Through the Records, where I review archived articles of Hempfield's newspaper, The Flash. Today, let's discuss the renovations done in the 90s. Upon scrolling through the chosen issue for this episode from March of 1993, I found a whole page of articles about the upcoming renovations of the high school. New school on horizon. Asbestos removal to begin in June. There are many reasons for this latest renovation. Between Hempfield's ever-growing population, the harmful asbestos in the floors of our school, a renovation was long overdue. Hempfield opened in 1906 in a two-story building on Church Street. The district's current administration building was built in 1937 for grades 7 through 12. The Franklin House was built in 1955 to accommodate the district's rapidly growing student populace. In 1962, the Buchanan House wing was added, and 1975 saw a new library and gymnasium. The ground was broken for our most impactful renovation in 1993. I discussed with Joanna Maley her experiences with the renovations as a Hempfield student from 1991 to 1995.
The school was already really crowded before renovations began. So when renovations began and paths needed to be rerouted and certain routes couldn't even be taken, a lot of my classes were in the annex, which is now the administration building, and it was connected with a hallway that was encased. It was framed out, and then it was encased in plastic. And it was a really long walk to go from Buchanan to the annex. It could take 10 minutes, especially with the congestion. One of the things about the old building was all of the windows could open in the classrooms. So that was really great because the temperature wasn't always easily controlled. And afterwards, I think they changed it so only a few windows could open, and that felt kind of stuffy to me. They also revamped the classrooms to have more access for technology. I remember it being kind of a big deal that there was like built-in projector. One of the things I liked about it, though, was the Performing Arts Center addition, and the art department itself got a really nice makeover. The new classrooms for art were really nice.
With this renovation, the 40-year-old high school graded new plumbing, HVAC, and electrical systems among other beneficial improvements. A new 3-story wing was added to provide 6 new FCS classrooms, 17 new science labs, a cafeteria to sit 825 students, a new tech lab, and other new facilities. The Hackman Auditorium was replaced with a new Performing Arts Center with a capacity of 1,300. The second floor of the Franklin side was connected to the third floor of the Buchanan side by a new corridor to improve the flow between classes. The original Hackman Auditorium was renovated to create space for the school's performative arts classes. The library saw an extension to house 50,000 volumes, a new media center, 2 classrooms, and a television studio, which is now the hub for Hempfield's developed communication and technology program. The goal of the school's current design was to create a community of department neighborhoods. This school has seen the world change through several generations of students. Over 100 years later, and this is where we stand. I hope you've learned something interesting from my segment. I'm Lizzie Pegg, and thanks for flashing back to the past with me.
Online courses provide students with new academic opportunities. Sullivan Fogel looked into what the online learning experience is like.
Every semester, students here at Hempfield High School are offered classes that they can take online, an opportunity that unites them with their academic interests.
The COVID-19 pandemic caused many people to take more online courses than they may have planned. Years later, as restrictions ease off, plenty of students still take these classes through the Hempfield Virtual Academy.
Hempfield Virtual Academy is a full-time online learning program which allows students a great deal of flexibility in their school day. Particularly, you've seen a lot of, since COVID, a lot of students were involved at that point, whether by choice or not. But a lot of students have remained in the program because of the flexibility it provides for them to work during the day, create a more of a blended schedule at the high school. It allows them to actually do internships, take dual enrollment courses at colleges during the course of the day. Sometimes those are not ideally aligned with the high school schedule, so they can take the dual enrollment course, take the online course, and still get all the credits they need to graduate. The same thing with students who are going out into the workforce. I mean, they can begin working and finishing their high school credit requirements at the same time.
Students may choose to take online courses for the flexibility in the schedule as well as the variety of classes, some of which may not be offered in person.
We offer a geography, a sociology course, an astronomy course. Most of the courses align with the same things that are offered at the high school, but there are various electives that we contract out to providing teachers outside of the Hempfield School District. In some areas, maybe some career planning.
So in career planning, you learn about it just kind of takes you slowly through the whole process of going through school and learning about what education you need, and then looking into colleges and jobs.
These unique online classes, such as the medical terminology course, can help prepare students for their potential future careers.
I was always interested in the medical field, and that's kind of what I want to do when I go to college, is something in the medical field, so I thought the class would be a good jump start to know terms.
You learn a lot of different subjects, different body systems and different medical practices and medicines and those types of things.
But it's a lot of terms, and then you have to write them all down, and when tests come you have to know all of them, and it can be a lot of words to remember.
While students can work through online courses at their own pace, the work can still be rigorous.
The work is all on you, you have to stay on pace, and you can't if you fall behind, it's really difficult and a lot of time to catch back up.
Online courses are not set up as the easy out, and I think that's what students sometimes forget. A lot of independent responsibility and requirements that students who are independent learners and can work and create a schedule, those types of things do very well with the online courses.
Online courses can provide students with a schooling experience that meets their needs and preferences. For Hempfield Happenings, I'm Sullivan Fogel.
The National Art Honor Society worked to raise money for the local fire department. Judah Vaughn explored the idea behind this.
Here at Hempfield, we have an Art Honor Society club, and this year they decided to make some prints for people to buy, and they were going to take the money that they make and donate to a local fire station.
A lot of preparation went into the planning and making of these prints.
I wanted to do a poster that was older 50s type style, and I looked up some pictures that were fire station posters from that time, and I got inspired by those. To actually draw out each individual layer, it took me, I want to say 4 hours, and then printing is a group process, and it took many days and after school hours to do it. Ideally, it would be around 4 or 5, 2 people printing the black and 2 people printing the red, and 1 or 2 people doing the actual press.
Shellac on it, and maybe
So the process would be you carve out whatever the design is onto the wood, and then you will gather paint and you'll paint across it, and then afterwards you print it down. And usually we have a printing press, so we'll put it down on paper, and then we put it underneath the printing press so that it sticks on to the paper and it makes the design
So woodblock prints is a very old technology going back hundreds of years, but we've kind of updated it and merged it with new technologies. So we are laser engraving the image into a block of wood. Once the wood blocks are prepared, we then roll ink over the top of the wood blocks. We then put paper over top of it and then transfer it through the etching press. The etching press adds a lot of pressure to it, then transferring the image over. So it's a very basic kind of process, but to be able to get complex imagery, text, having multiple blocks aligning with each other, there's just a lot of craftsmanship and some difficult processes there that all come together.
The Art Honor Society wanted to try something on a bigger scale this year.
So I've run National Art Honor Society, and over the last few years we've done some smaller projects like some holiday cards and things like that. And this was the first year that we've decided to branch out and do kind of a larger poster design. I've done something like this on myself for a couple of institutions, but this was the first time that as a group we decided to get together and like create something a little bit more ambitious than usual.
There were many different factors for why they chose the fire department to donate their money to.
Because the fire department has done so much to help the community, and so we thought it'd be nice to, you know, give back to them, because they've just done so much and they risk their lives doing so much for us every day.
Well, we've worked with most of the organizations we've worked with and have contributed to since I've been working with National Art Honor Society are local sort of nonprofit organizations. And we actually have a student that is a part of the fire department. Alex Shufflebottom is a person over there that we've connected with the department with, and that's kind of how we came about.
Here at Hempfield High School, students are given many opportunities to make a change in their community. This is just one of those ways. For Hempfield Happenings, I'm Judah Vaughn.
Parts that are a little bit more absorbent. Stuff in the text like here.
At the beginning of that school year, Hempfield adjusted their schedule to be able to end the school year earlier. Morgan interviewed Superintendent Mike Bromirski to understand this new concept better.
Over the past few years, the last day of school has moved from the ending in mid-June to ending at the end of May. Our superintendent, Mr. Bromirski, is joining me today to discuss the changing of the date of the final day of school. How are you doing today, Mr. Bromirski?
I'm great, Morgan. Thanks for having me here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming in. So, why was the decision made to end the school year earlier?
So as we develop the calendar for an upcoming year, we look at kind of start date and end date, and we have to do 180 student days and we do 189 teacher days. And what we were finding over the last several years was that we were coming back just a couple days after Memorial Day, and then we kind of heard some questions, and saying, is it possible to end before Memorial Day? And as we looked at calendars, we found that there were ways to move some in-service days around through the course of the year to make that happen. Now that's only contingent upon looking at when Memorial Day falls, and so as we look to our calendar for the upcoming school year, we'll be able to end before Memorial Day. But looking ahead out beyond that, it doesn't look like it'll work just based on how the calendar falls.
And so what changes have been made in order to compensate with this decision?
Sure. There's a day or two that we start earlier on the front end, and then we actually moved one of the teacher in-service days to the end of the school year, so our teachers now have 2 in-service days at the end of the school year. Because every day that we're off during the school year means you have to find another day to make that up. And so as we were looking at how to make that happen, when we look at our in-service days, it made sense to be able to give our teachers some additional time for them to earn additional hours in the summer as they're preparing for the upcoming school year. And the fact that we were able to do that allowed for us to be able to end before Memorial Day.
Has it been difficult to make these changes, or has it been relatively simple?
On paper, it's relatively simple, but when you put it into practice, I would say the first year that we did this, it kind of snuck up on us because our staff and students and parents were used to kind of how the calendar was before, and so all of a sudden it was May, and it was the end of the school year. So that allowed us then in year 2 to kind of plan ahead a little more effectively to make sure that we gave ourselves a little bit of time. And so now we're kind of getting into that rhythm, and I think when we roll out the 24-25 calendar, where I believe it looks like we're going to have to push it back, but not too far, a couple days after Memorial Day. But this new kind of process that we're in, I think will allow us to keep the flow moving more effectively.
And what are some of the pros and cons of changing the calendar?
Sure. I mean, obviously, when you start at the beginning of summer, you start a little bit earlier, by a day or two. So, with students, parents at times not wanting summer to end. We know that's hard. I love summer. It's a great time of year, but when summer comes to an end, that's always hard. And then through the course of the school year, just trying to make sure that we get everything we need to accomplish in before that end of the school year. And I think sometimes when it's a little earlier, we don't have necessarily as many days off through the course of the school year. So then people are always like, oh, it'd be nice to have a day off here. But when you have that day off, you have to then add it back on the calendar. And so I think people, the feedback we're getting is it is nice to be able to end before Memorial Day and enjoy that Memorial Day weekend and kind of kick off summer. But again, there's a little bit of pro and con, I think, on both sides of it. But as long as we're, I think, close to that, either before or right after, I think that's where we'll be probably for the next couple of years.
And obviously with these changes and with there being a large group that this is affecting, there's always going to be some reactions of people. So how do you expect people to react, or how have you seen people react to these changes?
Yeah, I think early on it was kind of a little bit of a lure of like, oh, we can get out before Memorial Day, that sounds great. And then when you get there, sometimes there's the reaction of, okay, now what? Especially with parents working, needing to find childcare for their children. That's a little bit earlier than maybe expected. And it is nice for students and staff to be able to say, okay, we're going to go and enjoy our summer vacation. I think that part is a little kind of working more against parents in terms of, when you think about having to provide daycare, looking for camps and things for kids. But then on the back end, when you start earlier in August, I think that at times, it helps some parents, again, when you think about the child care. Our staff and students, again, not wanting to end their summer vacation, that makes it a little bit challenging. But I also think it's trying to make sure we're getting back into the swing of things, that we're ready. We've had ample time to make sure we have staff hired and all the trainings that we need to do with teachers before school starts, based on any new requirements from the state. And so we want to make sure we're not shortchanging ourselves with regards to that time. But I think there is a balance, and I think one of the pieces that I've heard a lot from parents and from staff is when you come back after Memorial Day for a couple of days and we have early dismissals, people start to question, well, is there a way maybe to not do that? And so that's what we kind of looked at in the last couple of years to try and find some of those opportunities that can we end before? And we just keep saying every year we push out a new calendar that it could change year to year, but I do know, as we already have a draft of 24-25 school year, and it is looking like that will be after Memorial Day.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Next up, Vince went around our high school to ask students their opinions on the early ending of the school year.
What's up, Hempfield Happenings? It's Vince Mosaic here, one of your hosts, and today I'm at Hempfield High School, ready to interview students that go to school with me to see how they feel about the new scheduling system.
I like it because it makes you feel like you aren't as stressed at the end of the year. I feel like with having going until June, you're not oh, I feel like giving up earlier. I don't know.
It takes up too much of my summer. I mean, I think it's great to get out of here before Memorial Day. It's just get to celebrate the holiday and be done with school. I think it's a good thing.
They get out in June, we get out in May. It's great.
I like to get my stuff done faster in the summer.
I like getting out earlier. That's nice. It means my summer's a little bit longer. It starts a little sooner. Yep.
I like that because the weather's really good in the summer. It's more time in the good weather.
I just think this was a bad idea, and I've heard from a lot of other people that it was also a bad idea, even some teachers, so they should just fix it.
Really complicated. It comes with a lot of benefits and drawbacks, but I think the benefits definitely outweigh the drawbacks. I like the schedule this year.
There's new Mosaic here at Hempfield High School. Joey Striggle investigated the story behind the new Mosaic in the library.
From painted murals to mosaics, like this one, community art is everywhere, even in the Hempfield High School library.
The Mosaic project started in the 2017-2018 school year when clay teacher Mrs. Gallagher got a grant from the Hempfield Foundation. She invited the general public to community nights to help, and that's when Mrs. Hershey got involved in the project.
Back in 2017-2018, Keith was in kindergarten, Sean was in 4th grade, and we came to the community nights, and my husband, Mr. Hershey, came as well, but not as much as me and the boys. So because I was able to help install this and grout it, they were able to help too.
Mrs. Gallagher, the now retired art teacher, clay teacher, started the project, and we just went to the community nights, and that's how it started.
After the first side was completed, Mrs. Hershey and her kids helped install side B. After that, she got her own part of the mosaic to design.
I researched everything really thoroughly and had inspiration from Metropolitan Museum of Art. And so I started with cuneiform designs and cylinder seals, which are cylinders that were rolled onto slabs of clay to make a sign, like a signet ring that would be stamped for wax that we're used to. So that's what those are. And then this is Braille here, which would be a more modern version of a way to read clay. So my title of it is Reading Clay. And this in Braille actually says reading clay. And this is a Greek vase, the design, and I translated into Greek, reading clay.
Design-wise, that was all Mom's idea. She planned out the whole thing. So Keith helped make some of the tiles.
Yep.
Art like this often benefits the community it's placed in, but making this mosaic was also a personal experience.
The process of making it, the process of having a bunch of people working together to make this big thing that will be in here for a really long time is definitely important.
I think it inspires the people who work on it, and then it inspires the people who see it.
The recently finished mosaic helps beautify the library and has left an impact on the artists who made it.
For Hempfield Happenings, I've been Joey Striggle.
Although school just ended, summer is in full swing. That also means the Hempfield School District is ready to get into the thick of the summer. Hempfield athletics are beginning to prepare for a victorious season. Heat acclimation and several other camps are planned to get our athletes back into shape.
The Hempfield Marching Knights are also eager to start. You may be hearing horns and drums in the neighborhoods by the high school. We are excited to see their production this year, but like every year, 2 weeks of training in the hot summer sun will need to take place. Be sure to look out for them this coming August. Thank you for watching this month's episode of Hempfield Happenings.
When you are watching this, both Morgan and myself will be heading to our lives after high school. We wish the seniors best of luck as they venture into the world.
Make sure to tune in next month for Hempfield Happenings, when we have stories about animal shelter donations, sneaker culture, dual enrollment, and independent bookstores around the city.
We'll start saying goodbye to our senior class and learn about a Slunga lake monster and find out what our YouTube stars have been up to this semester.
I'm Morgan.
And I'm Vince.
Thanks for watching.